Weekdays 6 till 9 on 92.7 WMAY.
All right, let's talk business in the 217 as we do each and every Wednesday at around this time. And in the new year, it's a great time to look at what's coming up with some businesses in the area. And Michelle Ownbey with the Springfield Business Journal knows all about it. And she takes us through the various things to highlight this week. And Michelle, thanks for taking time. Happy New Year. How you been?
Good morning, Greg. Doing well. And, the new year always seems to bring lots of opening and closing announcements, and this year has been no exception to that.
So let's go right into it with an opening. Scooter's Coffee. We've seen this thing being erected. It's a pretty nice looking building. What's going on there?
Yeah, so this is a national company. The local franchisees are Marcus and Lauren McGlasson, who are Pleasant Plains residents. They're actually the same ones who opened that location in Taylorville last year. That was their first one. Now the location over on Clear Lake is open. Now they're having their official grand opening on Friday the 13th, appropriately enough. But they actually held a soft opening right before Christmas. So if you want to give them a try, you can do that at this point. And they've already got a second location under construction over on Wabash Avenue, that outlet of the Chatham Square Shopping Center. And when I chatted with Lauren, she said they've got some pending in Indiana as well. They're the franchisees for that area. And this is a company that's seen pretty aggressive growth. They've gone from about 75 locations nationwide in 2010 to just around 300 by last year. So they've tripled in size in a pretty short time frame.
You know, it's always amazing to see, regardless of what kind of coffee shop it is, the lines are immense. Be it all the Starbucks there are, be it the cup of Java, and I would imagine Scooters
right.
as well.
Hayes just opened. Yeah.
It's fantastic because everybody needs that cup of Joe. So having those options is definitely good. Let's talk about now something that a lot of people are fans of, and that's MJ's Fish and Chicken Express. What's the latest there?
Oh, this is very near and dear to my heart. This is right in my neighborhood. Yes, MJ's Fish and Chicken. Of course, they started out with the food truck there on South Grand, and then a few years ago purchased the building there at 716 East Enos, right in the Enos Park neighborhood between 7th and 8th Street. And they were actually doing so well, they were having trouble keeping up with business. They were having staffing issues, just like a lot of restaurants. It's family-owned. Jerome and his wife, Jerome and Margaret Taylor. And so they were really just kind of struggling to keep up with the demand. And so last summer, they made the announcement that they were going to close the restaurant portion. They would still rent it out for private events or fundraisers and that sort of thing, but they were switching to a catering-only model. So for people like me, who were eating there on a weekly basis, that was very disappointing. But now they're coming back, at least somewhat. They're going to be open for carryout on the weekends. So starting January 20th, they will be open on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for people to come in and get carryout orders. So at least now, even if you're not throwing a party or hosting a fundraiser, you still have an option to get you some of that good MJ's food.
Yeah, and a lot of people excited about that, no question. Jungle Jim's Café, though, different story. What's going on with that particular eatery?
Yes, win some, lose some on the north end. Right around the same time MJ's made their announcement, Jungle Jim's just announced yesterday that they were closing effective immediately. Of course, that property has been for sale for quite a while, and no buyer has materialized. But Mary announced that, again, just due to staffing issues, increase in supplies and pricing and all that, and needing to spend more time with her grandkids and her family, that she has decided to just call it a day and shut things down. So I know that place is a bit of a legacy and got the Route 66 connection and all that. So a lot of folks are very sad to hear about Jungle Jim's closing.
We're talking with Michelle Ownbey. She's the publisher of the Springfield Business Journal. Before we get to this next story, Michelle, tell people how they can get their hands on the SBJ.
Well, if you go to springfieldbusinessjournal.com, you can sign up for Biz Bites. That's our newsletter that comes out every Wednesday afternoon, and that's free of charge, just kind of a weekly roundup of what's happening in the business world. And, of course, you can also sign up for the print edition and get that delivered directly to your home or office.
Now, the Illinois General Assembly, they've got lame duck session underway starting today. They end January 10th, and there's an issue that we talked about earlier this hour, and that deals with pawnbrokers and the issue of interest rates that the pawn shops can offer on a short-term basis. And they're looking at legislation coming down the pike that could cap that. We've heard from some pawn owners across the state, but even right here in Springfield, you guys talked with Monster Pawn. How are they going to be impacted by this?
Yeah, we did. Edwin Pierce is the owner of Monster Pawn, as you said, not just in Springfield, but he also has locations in Peoria, Normal, and Bloomington. And, of course, Monster Pawn has their location there on MacArthur, but they just recently bought the old House of Music property there on North Grand and 3rd, so they're in the midst of a pretty significant expansion here locally. And he says that his business will be in danger of closing if this passes, because the legislation, as you mentioned, would cap interest rates at 36%. Of course, that sounds like a lot, but the pawn shop owners make the argument that it's not fair to look at the annual interest rate since they're typically making these loans on a weekly or monthly basis. You know, just like you don't look at the cost to rent a hotel room for an entire year, you look at the cost for a night or perhaps a week. So certainly a very contentious issue. Hasn't gotten nearly as much attention as the Safety Act and assault weapons and all that, but something that could potentially have an impact on some local businesses.
Michelle Ownbey, publisher of the Springfield Business Journal, greatly appreciate you taking the time. You've got your thumb on the pulse of what's going on in Springfield's business community, and we like getting that update each and every week. Happy New Year, and we'll talk again next week, all right?
All right. Thanks, Craig.
It is Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMA.